Hi guys, welcome to Office Blokes Reacts. I'm Office Bloke Dave.
I'm Office Bloke Mike.
I'm Office Bloke Daz.
And collectively, there's some whores in this house.
Indeed, there is.
We've got two other YouTube channels. We like to try stuff. We like to talk about stuff. We've got a Patreon page, social media, all that good stuff. And some merch, which a couple of us are wearing. Yeah, so link in the description will take you everywhere you need to go. And we do really, really, really appreciate the support across all channels.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Lockdown experiment gone horribly wrong on the infographics channel. I don't know what I don't know what it is. It's just the title seemed apt. You know, with coming out of lockdowns, and we had Freedom Day this week and stuff. So I thought we'd queue it up and see what happens.
Have you been out on Freedom Day? Like, have you? I've been going to the supermarket. I continue to wear my mask anyway.
I haven't.
You haven't?
No.
Have you?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. In supermarkets,
Just for other people.
Yeah.
Just, I don't want to spook anyone else out.
Yeah, still a lot of people wearing them.
Yeah.
The vast majority of people are. I'd say 80% of people are wearing masks still. But I felt dirty the first time I did it. I'm not going to lie. But, you know, it is what it is. You know? I'm done with wearing a mask. If I really have to, I will. I'm not doing it to prove a point. I'm not one of those people. But it's that hot, and I'm just that fed up with wearing it that...
Yeah, I get that. A lot of people are, aren't they? Yeah, it's been a long time, hasn't it? But
it's harder to lick the back of people's heads when you've got a mask on.
That's the problem, see, you know.
Sucks. Whether it's from house arrest or because of a global pandemic, being trapped inside is never fun. But at least you probably still have some access to conveniences, like if you wanted pizza for dinner, chances are you could make that happen, probably in 30 minutes or less even. But what if you wanted pizza and knew that it would take 4 months to arrive? That's how long it took when some crew members of Biosphere 2 had a hankering for pizza. They spent 4 months growing a crop of wheat, which then had to be threshed and ground. Tomatoes, peppers, and onions had to grow and ripen. Cheese made from goat's milk had to mature. But that's what happens when you're living off the land, locked away in a science experiment for 2 years. Biosphere 2 was the brainchild.
That was a movie, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
China or Russia, though, wasn't it?
What's the movie? Yeah. What's the guy? Brandon Fraser. You know, the guy that's in The Mummy?
Tarzan.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's in a movie. I'm sure it's called Biosphere.
Really?
And it's this exact plot.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I never knew that.
Yeah.
Of John Allen, a charismatic New Age visionary, aka a hippie, and Edward P. Bass, a Texas billionaire. They wanted to create an airtight, self-sustaining ecological system as a way to explore the viability of habitats to support human life in deep space missions or planetary colonies. They named their project Biosphere 2 because Earth is the first biosphere, of course. It took 7 years between 1987 and 1991 to construct Biosphere 2. The project, built in the Arizona desert, about 35 miles northeast of Tucson.
That was 4 years, wasn't it?
Yeah, I thought it'd be China or
Russia.
Yeah.
Nah, it's an American thing to do that. Definitely. But didn't he say 87 to 1991, sorry, which is 4 years. It took 7 years to build.
Yeah.
Fair play. They invented time travel at the same time as well.
Was originally supposed to cost $30 million, but cost ballooned to about $150 million before it was finished. Admittedly, it's a technological marvel, and still is impressive even today. The sprawling 3.15-acre complex, comprised mainly of glass and steel, is a miniature world containing 7 different biomes: a rainforest with a 25-foot waterfall, a fog desert, an ocean with a coral reef, a mangrove swamp, a savanna grassland, and to support the human inhabitants, an agricultural system and human living space, complete with sleeping quarters and workshops. The complex was stocked with 3,000 species of plants and animals, including chickens, goats, bees, and even some bush babies. From outside, a mission control team of experts could monitor the crew and Biosphere 2 itself via sensors, phone, and computer readings. On the morning of September 26, 1991, after a blessing and a goodbye ceremony, the 8 Biospherians, 4 men and 4 women, locked themselves inside of Biosphere.
Yeah, I was going to say the title says "Gone Horribly Wrong."
Oh yeah.
Because my mind was just going, I bet they all kill each other or something. It's going to go dark, isn't it?
I don't remember this at the time.
No, me
being
neither.
in the news or anything like that. So it must have gone under the radar.
I was just leaving school. I had bigger problems to worry about.
2, with plans to stay in without leaving for 2 years. Problems started almost immediately. 2 weeks into the mission, crew member Jane Pointer got her hand caught in a rice thresher, losing the tip of one of her middle fingers. The resident doctor, Roy Walford, reattached it, but the graft didn't take. Later, he decided she needed to go to a hospital for more surgery. After seeking medical treatment, Pointer returned to Biosphere 2. When she re-entered the airlock, though, the press noticed something. She had a big duffel bag with her that she didn't have when she left. The media made much of this event. Not only had a crew member left and re-entered, but they had brought back secret supplies with them. This couldn't happen on Mars. Pointer later clarified that the supplies were just extra computer parts and color film, not some special food or an item the crew couldn't live without. Much of the first year of the lockdown experiment, the ecosystem was in flux. The coral reef rapidly became overgrown with algae. Most of the hummingbirds and bees died, making farming even more labor-intensive as the crew had to pollinate by hand. Also, nematode worms and broad mites had attacked the crops. A few species of cockroach had been brought into Biosphere 2 because they were good for the soil. Unfortunately, a common household cockroach hitched a ride in and not only dominated the other species of cockroaches, but became a pest in the living quarters. A bush baby in the rainforest biome got into the wiring and was electrocuted. The weather was cloudy for the first few months of the mission, and the light filtering through the glass panes was dimmer than expected. This killed off many of the fish and other marine life. Even worse, the lack of sunlight stunted the crops. The crew primarily ate vegetarian, growing 80 different crops such as kale, carrots, peppers, beets, banana, and wheat. At one point, they were eating so many sweet potatoes that their skin picked up an orange hue. They did have milk from the resident goats and the occasional egg from chickens. Meat was served maybe once a week. For especially the first 6 months, the crew had decent nutrition, but was underfed. Daily caloric intake for crew members averaged 1,780 calories, not a lot when you're doing research experiments and performing manual farm labor. The crew all lost between 10 to 20% of their body weight. Ultimately, they had to break into a 3-month supply of food that had been secretly stashed away before the doors to the outside had closed. As the Biospherians improved their farming techniques, food production rose. By the second year, the crew had upped their average daily calories to 2,300 as a result, and they ended up regaining some of their lost weight. The worst problem the Biospherians endured was oxygen deficiency. A few months into the mission, the crew began to notice that they would pant when climbing the stairs, or just from briskly walking the trails. The level of oxygen in Biosphere 2 started out at about 21%, the same as the Earth's atmosphere. However, by January 1993, with about 9 months remaining for the experiment, the oxygen had decreased to just 14.5%, the equivalent of living 12,000 feet up a mountain. The low oxygen made the crew lethargic, and for months they struggled with sleep apnea and had trouble getting proper rest. Eventually, Mission Control assessed the risk as being too high, and a few months before the experiment was slated to end, they started pumping in oxygen. Later, scientists figured out that benign microbes in Biosphere 2's compost-rich soil converted oxygen to carbon dioxide, which then reacted with the building's concrete to form calcium carbonate and remove oxygen molecules from the atmosphere.
Doesn't sound like it was very well done, does it?
Sounds like people got too much time on their hands, right?
It just shows you what a sort of like how delicate the atmosphere and everything is on Earth, doesn't it?
Yeah, big time.
You change it just slightly there, they think it's going to be absolutely perfect to get everything in place.
Yeah.
It ain't that easy, is it?
There's no bear neither. I've not seen bear.
That's the biggest drawback, isn't it? I mean, it's an interesting concept because if you did try and live on another planet in a dome and create your own atmosphere or your own oxygen and stuff, how would you do? Can you do it? So, in that sense, I mean, it's really, really interesting.
Never mind that. Why would you do it?
Well, for that reason, I suppose. In case they did want to colonise somewhere else that hasn't got the atmosphere like Earth, but.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You want to go live on Mars in a dome?
Not me.
Well, yeah, it would. Yeah, not me, but...
Morning glories were planted to soak up carbon dioxide, but they exploded in number and choked out other plants, including their food crops. Crew members had to spend long hours weeding them to make sure they'd have something to eat. A typical day for one of the crew might look like this. Wake up, complete morning chores such as milking goats or picking ripe produce. At 8 a.m., they would meet with the rest of the crew while eating breakfast, which was usually porridge sweetened with banana. The crew would discuss what everyone needed to do for the day. Generally, everyone would spend a few hours working the farm. After that, the crew would split up and everyone saw to their own area. Crew members handled different areas such as water management or insects. In the afternoon, the crew might have a media interview via phone or uplink. After dinner, the crew often sat around talking and drinking homemade banana wine. Some crew members would play instruments or talk with family over the phone. On site, there was a picture window with phones on either side so a Biospherian could have a conversation and see their family at the same time. A setup not too different from a prison visitation room.
So that kind of defeats the object for me because, you're experimenting what it's going to be like if you're on another planet.
Yeah.
But you should all be experimenting. It's the psychological well-being of the participants as well. I don't think there should have been contact with family in the outside world. It should be like the Big Brother house.
Yeah, I get that, but maybe they're thinking I know what you mean. Maybe they're thinking if you colonise that you'd be there with your family anyway. But if you were thinking of like the initial people that go out there, would be, I get that bit.
It's like they're experimenting, they're testing certain things, but quite big. questions are going to go unanswered.
How much do they get paid for it? Not mentioned that yet, have they?
Might say.
Meanwhile, the media was very interested in the experiment. Frequently, there were cameras set up outside Biosphere 2. The site also became a tourist destination in order to try and recoup some of the high costs involved with running the complex. Over 1 million tourists paid $9.95 for the tours around the building and the ability to peer into the terrarium to see the Biospherians at work. There was even a gift shop with keychains and a t-shirt, so you could prove you visited Biosphere 2. Between the visitors and school field trips, along with the food deprivation problems, the cockroaches taking over, and other annoyances, at times the crew felt like they were animals in a zoo. But we know there's still one big question you have. The media was obsessed with the topic too and asked this question a lot. Did the Biospherians have sex? Or did they spend 2 years going without? The crew, for the most part, refused to talk about their sex lives. However, one of them, Mark Nelson, said, "People are people. Everything you might expect to happen with people has happened in here. Take from that what you will." Critics lambasted the Biosphere 2 project throughout the whole experiment, dismissing it as more show business than science. The criticism reached new heights when the media found out that external staff members made several secret deliveries to Biosphere 2, providing seeds, vitamins, mousetraps, and other supplies. Furthermore, an ex-employee revealed to the public that engineers had installed a carbon dioxide scrubber so that Biosphere 2's atmosphere could be better artificially managed. With all the different pressures, plus being stuck in one spot with only 8 people, arguments were bound to happen. Ultimately, the Biospherians split into 2 factions divided over differences of opinion regarding their research goals. Some crew members refused to speak to each other unless they had to, going so far as to turn their face away when they met someone on a path. Allegedly, some crew members stole and hoarded food, refusing to share it with those they considered traitors. Later, one of the crew members would claim that she was spat at twice. Finally, on September 26, 1993, after 2 years, the 8-person crew emerged from the biosphere, thin but relatively healthy. The doors had been opened 29 times during the experiment. A second lockup with a different crew started in March of 1994 but was eventually abandoned after 6 months due to management infighting about spending and authority. Today, Biosphere 2 is a research station owned by the University of Arizona. Researchers use it to study global environmental change, weathering, and the effect of drought on rainforests, among other projects. The Biospherians dispute the media's view that Biosphere 2 is a failed project. The whole point was to test the possibility of human habitats. Any perceived failings only gave scientists data for further use. Also, there were many small successes during the course of the experiment. By the end of the first mission, the crew was able to produce 83% of their total diet, including fodder for domestic animals. Biosphere 2's farm recycled its nutrients and water, maintaining soil fertility without chemical fertilizer or any toxic chemicals. The crew also recycled their sewage, drinking the same water countless times, totally purified by their plants, soil, atmosphere, and machines. It wasn't until 18 years later, in 2009, that NASA announced total water recycling on the International Space Station. The Biospherians also dispute the idea that there was a massive fish and coral reef die-off, pointing to surveys by coral reef scientists. At the end of 2 years, only 1 coral species had been lost out of some 4 dozen, and new coral colonies were growing. Biosphere 2 was the focus of many educational projects and inspired kids around the world. It brought the term biosphere to the mainstream. It was also the main inspiration for a Pauly Shore movie and the world's first reality TV show, Big Brother, which aired in the Netherlands in 1999. So no matter what you think of it, it's hard to argue that Biosphere 2 was an ambitious and unique experiment that was far ahead of its time. We know you want to watch more videos.
I was going to say, it's just Big Brother on crack, isn't it?
That's where they got it from then, was it, Big Brother?
Yeah.
Interesting.
It's if you're going to do something like that, it's got to be like precision, and everything's got to be...
Especially when you're spending that kind of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's big money, wasn't it? A lot of money. I mean, to be fair, they've tried it, and maybe there's more things cropped up and problems that they realised that they hadn't envisaged.
Yeah.
You know, maybe it's one of those where they gave it a go, but they just didn't think of everything.
It is interesting, though.
It is an interesting one, yeah.
I'd visit. I'd go and have a look and walk around. I suppose it's like the Eden Centre, isn't it? Down south.
Eden Project.
Eden Project, sorry.
Yeah, probably will be. I expect something similar to that, so...
Weird.
It's weird, though, yeah.
It is. I can see why people would be intrigued and why people would go on it.
Yeah.
Would you go on something like that?
If I didn't have kids, possibly.
Would you?
Don't think so, no. 2 years of that.
It's kind of... I like stability, though, and the idea that you're going to come out of something like that to nothing would be the thing that puts me off.
You come out to a massive paycheck.
It depends how much you get paid.
Yeah, it's a long time now, 2 years, isn't it? That environment like that.
It's like prison, isn't it?
No, it is really, isn't it? Yeah. You haven't got your freedoms, have you? It's totally different
like
to what you used to. So. Exactly, yeah. You need the WAP.
It's WAB. in prison. Wet ass bombs.
I didn't know you were actually going to say that then, but
maybe that's what should be our Christmas single for this year.
Wow.
Anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that too. Don't forget to like and subscribe, hit the bell, and we'll catch you on the next one.
Cheers. Guys.